Now, that's the base setup which we have here. And that's not really enough to build a website. Instead, when you build a website with Django, you typically build that website by adding and possibly combining multiple so-called apps. You could say multiple modules or components together. And that's a core feature of Django, that you split your overall website into multiple smaller packages, so-called apps, which you then can combine together to build the overall website. Now, that's what I'll do here as well. And for this, I'll open the terminal. Here I'm using the one integrated into Visual Studio Code. And here we can now run commands as we do it in the default command prompt or terminal on our operating system, just integrated into this editor and already navigated into this project folder. And in here, we should now run Python manage.py. So we execute this manage.py file, but not like this. Instead, we now add a sub command, which is supported by Django. Because this manage.py file, which we have here, that's actually a file which allows us to use Django command line commands, as we see here. So we can execute certain commands offered by Django with help of that file. And one of those supported commands is the start app command. Before, we used Django admin start project to build a new project. Now inside of a project, we can use start app to add such a app, such a module to this overall project. And as I just said, multiple modules, multiple such apps can then be combined together to make up the overall project. And for example, if you're working on a bigger project, let's say an online shop, then you could have one app, one module for the customer-facing product pages. You could have one app for the cart, one app for the customer administration area, one app for the customer backend where customers can see their past orders, and so on. So you can split your Django projects into granular, smaller parts, which are then each easier to maintain and which you possibly could also share as Python modules between multiple projects. So if you have one Django app that contains some functionality that might make sense or might be useful in another Django project as well, then because of this app concept, you could share that app simply by extracting it as a separate Python module. Now that's all a bit more advanced. We're not going to do this in this course here, but we still will create such an app here to contain our core business logic for this demo website, which we are going to build here. And you typically have at least one app for every Django project which you are creating. So we run start app and we give this app a name. And here, since I want to build a meetups portion for my website, and in this course the overall website will be about meetups, but it could also be just a part of the website, I will name this app meetups. So hence I'll execute Python manage.py start app meetups, and if I hit enter, a new folder is generated here in this overall project folder, this meetups folder. And in there we see that again, more Python files were auto-generated by Django, and these are now the files we will work in. Now in there we got this migrations folder, which we can ignore for now. We can also ignore the admin apps and models.py files at the moment. Tests.py could be used to write automated tests, which we won't do here, but views.py, that's the first important file we'll now take a closer look at. Because with help of views.py and our URLs.py file, we will be able to register a URL which we want to support on our page and then define what should happen if a user enters that URL.